Bit of a surprise out of Limitless 3, it's Excadrill. Welcome back everyone to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch and today we are taking a look at some of the decks that did well out of the Limitless Qualifier. We had a bit of a vote on Twitter and this deck ended up coming in first place. This is the one that you wanted to see the most and it is Excadrill Zebstrika. If you are interested in jumping onto Twitter or Facebook and seeing some of those votes where we are considering putting some of this stuff up, then feel free to follow us at the Sableyes_YT. That would be great. You can subscribe and like and do all those things, and we'll take a look right now at the list that was successful in Limitless 3. So obviously Excadrill is the key card that we're going to take a look at. If you followed the Limitless tournament at all, you would know that PikaRom was a massive deck in this tournament. It won the tournament, it had a huge upsurge in play, and Excadrill is almost a hard counter to PikaRom. It's got 2 attacks for single fighting energy, and both of them are pretty solid. The first is the one that we're going to try and get to. It's 11th Hour Tackle. It does 30 damage, plus if we have 3 or fewer cards in the deck, we do 150 more. So for 1 energy, we can do 180 damage, which is a pretty solid amount, but it relies on our deck being relatively small. The second attack, Drill Bazooka, again, for a single fighting energy, does 120 damage, and then the downside is that we discard 4 cards from our deck. So that seems pretty good. We're going to do 120 damage, which will knock out a PikaRom in one shot, mind you, and then we're going to get ourselves a little bit closer to that 11th Hour Tackle. This list plays a 4-4 line of Excadrill and a Ditto as well, because we're going to try and use multiple copies of Zebstrika and the Sprint ability to get ourselves into that low deck size. That's going to allow us to get those big attacks off very, very quickly. We've also got, because we're a fighting deck, we have got a couple of cards that can boost our damage. Diancie Prism with Princess's Cheers can increase our fighting damage by 20, so we're doing 200 for a single energy. And then we also have Martial Arts Dojo as a potential boost to our damage. We've got 10 extra damage just for having this in play if we have a fighting energy attached, which of course we will. So we're doing 210, which is a pretty big number in the Pokemon trading card game. And if we are behind on prizes, as we are likely to be, then we will also deal an extra 30 on top of that. So we'll do 40 damage on top of what we're already doing. 240 damage is pretty solid. That's going to be taking a knockout on lots of Pokemon in this format. And when you consider the fact that we're doing all of that with a single energy, it is pretty strong. Now, even without using 11th Hour Tackle, Drill Bazooka does 140, and that's going to half hit a lot of things when we've got Diancie in play, 150 with the Stadium. So we're in a pretty solid position regardless to hit some of those big numbers. Now, we've got all sorts of cards in the deck. We're not going to run through every single one, but we will talk about some specific stuff. Firstly, Phione in this deck is really important. If we put Phione into the field of play, as long as it doesn't get knocked out, we can use Whirlpool Suction to maintain a 1-card deck. So as long as we keep our resources organized, if we get down to 0 cards, Phione will allow us to cycle with a 1-card deck for the entirety of the game. So hopefully once we get down to that point, Whirlpool Suction will allow us to get ourselves a 1-card deck for enough time to win the game. But until then, we're going to be trying to discard cards with Drill Bazooka, which means we're going to discard a lot of things that we'll probably need. So we have 4 copies of Ordinary Rod, which is a really high count, and 3 copies of Pal Pad so that we can shuffle in Pokemon, Energy, and Supporters, which are all very important. We can shuffle those back into the deck, then we'll be relatively happy. You'll notice the deck also runs 4 Quick Ball, 3 Pokécom, and a single Great Ball. I think this Great Ball is really quite interesting. It's obviously not ideal when we're discarding so many Pokemon to use Pokemon Communication. We're probably going to lose a lot of the things that we need anyway, but by the time we get down to that smaller deck size, we're shuffling Pokemon in with our Ordinary Rods, sorry. So Great Balls actually become a very efficient way to search out a Pokemon, and if we've got a deck that's less than 7 cards and we know that Phione's in there, we can Great Ball for it. So it's a very good option. The rest of the deck is relatively self-explanatory. I mean, we've got Brock's Grit to put more Pokemon and energy back in. You'll also notice that we've got 3 Crushing Hammer in the deck. This is to stop things like Dragapult and ADP from setting up on you. If they are able to keep their energy in play, then they're going to have a relatively good time. So if we can hold them back a bit whilst we're attacking, we should be good. But the rest of the deck is relatively self-explanatory. The last card that I want to talk about is Buff Padding. We can put this on an Excadrill and increase its HP to 190, which means that it will survive an attack from ADP. So if we do find ourselves in that position, Buff Padding can boost up the HP. We're not going to be giving up Excadrill for 2 prizes against ADP. They'll have to attack with Zacian instead, and if they do, then we've got a chance to knock it out because we can get to 240 damage. So hey, this deck's really, really cool. I am very impressed when decks like this do well in standard tournaments, especially one as big as Limitless, over 1,000 players. So congratulations to the player who made Day 2 with it. We'll take it onto the ladder and we'll see just how it works. Hopefully, fingers crossed, PikaRom doing well means we can find one on the ladder. Alright, so we'll hope for that lightning. That looks promising. I mean, if that lightning's PikaRom, then I'll be relatively happy, but there's a dark energy there as well, so I don't know what this deck could be. It might potentially be like a Turbo Boltund, although we'd expect to see some green for Shuckles there. I'm not entirely sure. We've got a relatively good hand, though. We're going second, which is a bit of a pain. We want to go first to evolve, obviously, but, you know, we've got a Blitzle in the active, we've got an energy, we've got all sorts of stuff, all sorts of useful stuff here, and a lightning deck box is positive. It looks like PikaRom. Maybe that dark is an Absol, perhaps. This is pretty solid for us. You would think that we would win this game. If we don't win, then don't play Excadrill. There's obviously Toxtricity VMAX in this deck as well, so it's not like an optimized PikaRom list by the looks of it. Perhaps it's more of a Toxtricity list than a PikaRom list, but, you know, that's also fine. Toxtricity is weak to fighting as well, so we're happy either way. And they've opened in their hand with 2 VMAXs, so they're going to get rid of those here, grabbing a Dedenne, and they'll be looking to try and discard some lightning energy and get into Tapu Koko, I'd imagine. There's a couple of lightning energy. One of them is a speed energy, so they won't be able to get that back with Koko V, but they will be relatively happy. Yeah, we're unlikely to be able to do anything realistic this turn. We can't knock out this PikaRom now, but if they choose to full blitz next turn, then we will be able to take a knockout on it unless they get themselves a big charm. There's a pass, and we've top decked a research as well, so we can get rid of this Marnie now. We'll grab ourselves a Drilbur. We'll put that down onto the bench, and then we can pretty much just play out every single one of these cards. We'll play down the Phione here, we'll attach the energy to the Drilbur, and then we'll just research and we'll see what we get. It's disappointing to get rid of the Zebstrika, but it's not the end of the world. We could potentially go for the Pokémon, but I think Great Ball's better first. We can grab Blitzle, which is very good for us. Now we can kind of sit on this hand a little bit. We'll get rid of the Excadrill and grab ourselves this Ditto, because now no matter what our opponent knocks out, we're in a relatively good spot. We don't need to worry about any of the other cards in our hand because we've got Research for next turn. We will play down the Buff Padding though, because we don't necessarily want to draw into it if we get Reset stamped. We can just leave that on the Drilbur and that'll be fine, but this looks pretty solid for us. We're going to give up the Blitzle, which is a pain, but we should be able to get a knockout on PikaRom, especially if PikaRom doesn't play the big charm. So we'll be relatively happy with that. I've got a Cherish Ball here, so probably they're actually going for another Zeraora, so that's okay. I think the big thing for us is, can they get themselves into Energy and Thunder Mountain? They've got the energy, so there's 2 speed energy on the active. There's Thunder Mountain, so they've got the full blitz. But is that enough? Probably not, to be honest. I mean, we've got pretty much everything that we need already sitting in our hand. Unfortunately, we don't have the Excadrill, but we can always get it off of the Research. Plus, we've got the potential for a Blitzle, possibly even 2 if we use Ditto Prism. So we're looking at pretty solid here. It's just a matter of all bosses' orders. This could be quite painful. What are they going to get rid of? They're going to get rid of the Drilbur. Okay, so it's not the end of the world, but we have lost a little bit there in that energy and the buff padding, which is annoying, but it's not that bad. They're going to accelerate to the bench, so now we need to find us that little bit extra. We need to find an energy as well. It's going to be on the Ditto, so we might as well promote that. And, oh, this is quite interesting. We've got a Quick Ball. What we can do is we can quick ball away the Ordinary Rod, just grab a Pokemon, whatever Pokemon, that's fine, then find Pokémon Communication, and the question becomes, do we get ourselves the guaranteed Excadrill, or do we go for the Zebstrika? I think it's just safer to go for the Excadrill. Now we need one more card, and if we find Zebstrika, we'll be good. We do get a Drilbur, we get an Energy. We've actually got a whole bunch of stuff here, which is really good. We can find an Zebstrika off of this Pokemon Communication. We can replace the Stadium, we can attach an Energy, we can use Crushing Hammer. There's so much stuff that we can do here. We are actually in a really good spot, and we missed the heads flip, but that's fine. We could potentially sprint, but I think it's just better to drill Bazooka here. We'll discard a few cards. None of those looked particularly dangerous to us. And there are a few prizes we've got. Wow, we get Excadrill and Fighting Energy off of the prizes, so we're guaranteed to have an attacker next turn. And I mean, we're in a really dominant spot. Even though our opponent took the first prize, even though they accelerated all that energy, we are just going to be able to steamroll through this game, I think. We've got the Phione, so we can gust stuff up. If they ever promote the VMAX, we effectively just win. Yeah, I'm feeling like we're in a pretty solid position. And it's almost as if playing a fighting deck against the Lightning one is probably a good matchup. I mean, that's part of the reason why it did so well, I'd imagine. The fact that PikaRom was so heavily represented in Limitless 3 that Excadrill had a chance to get there. But I played this deck quite a bit before this game, and there are actually lots of situations where Excadrill is really good. You can take on things like Baby Blacephalon relatively easily. I mean, if you've got a Diancie in play, Drill Bazooka will take a knockout on a Blacephalon. They need to spend 4, even 5 if you've got the Buff Padding energy, 3 energy, even 4 if they've got the Buff Padding to take a knockout on an Excadrill. And if you've played Malamar against Blacephalon, you'll know that it's very difficult for Blacephalon to overcome single prize decks when it's attacking inefficiently, and Excadrill, on the other hand, is attacking very efficiently. So I think it's got a lot of potential, to be honest. Like, it seems to struggle against Dragapult. Obviously, that's a difficult matchup for it. But again, it's got 140 HP, so it's not getting knocked out straight away. The difficult part is that your opponent can obviously mitigate that very easily by just placing an energy onto a Drilbur early, but that's okay. Our opponent's playing through their hand here. They've got a Tapu Koko, which they could potentially pop to power up a second attacker. So the Zeraora can get a second energy, and the Dedenne can potentially get one as well. But at the moment, yeah, I'm feeling really strong. Like, no matter what happens, even if they do take a knockout on Excadrill, we're going to be fine. At the moment, Electric Riot is not going to be enough to take a knockout. They're doing 90 damage, so they'd have to waste like 2 E-powers to even knock out our Excadrill, which is pretty solid. I think, yeah, at this point, the game's pretty much wrapped up, I'd imagine. But that's okay. We'll just wait and see what our opponent manages to do. Normally, I'd imagine they're in a pretty strong spot if they're playing against any other deck. They're going for the Electro Power here. Maybe they are going for the double Electro Power play. There it is. So they've managed to get the knockout with this Toxtricity. Electric Riot does 150, and that's quite annoying. Oh, thank you very much. I do have a good deck. This is a pretty good one. Excadrill coming into play. We can attach the energy, and now we can start hunting down another Drilbur for the bench. That's not an amazing hand, but we can do some coin flipping here. We'll do a couple of energy ticks and then go from there. Can I potentially get myself a little bit lower here? I kind of want to put some distance between the two of us when it comes to our prizes here. I think we're going to be fine. We'll just play these Pal Pads. I think I have to Dedenne because I have to find another Drilbur. This is an awkward spot. I've got a Drilbur, okay, so... But now I'm going to need to use this Phione. I wish I hadn't discarded the energy off of that Zeraora, because if I hadn't, then I could have discarded it from the Toxtricity. That's okay, I need to move the Phione away anyway so I can put the Drilbur down. I've got the Excadrill for next turn. I'm taking 2 prizes guaranteed, so this is fine. I can sit on this hand and then just Drill Bazooka, and as long as I don't get rid of all of my energy, I should be alright. 300 damage is such a lot. 2 prizes, easy stuff. There's a fighting energy. So at this stage, I feel like we're pretty much locked up with the game. We could get Marnied, which would be annoying, but we have Excadrill, Boss's Orders, and fighting energy, so we are in a spot where we can win the game unless our opponent disrupts us. And yeah, just showing off just how strong Excadrill can be in the right circumstances. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this deck is a busted play, that you have to use it, but it is definitely really, really strong because it can just do a lot of stuff. Like, it can deal with a lot of threats. Zeraora here being powered up, so they'll be able to Plasma Fists for knockout, but I think that's just about it. I can go for the Drilbur here. I've got the Excadrill, I've got the boss, so we are set and ready to go. We will just gust up that Zeraora, you'd think. There's no need to do anything else. We could even just drill Bazooka. What am I talking about? The big charm doesn't mean that it has 300 HP. We'll just take a knockout on the active. Adoy, that's alright. We got there in the end. Last few seconds of that game is a classic case of overthinking, but Excadrill is definitely worth investigating, and it's a lot of fun. Like, if you're playing it on the ladder, there's a heap of decks that it's got good matchups against. Everyone's playing PikaRom at the moment because it just won the biggest event of the year so far, so I would definitely recommend Excadrill for you. It's such a fun deck, and I'm glad that it did well on the second day of the Limitless Qualifier. Thank you to everyone for coming along, and especially thank you to those of you who voted on our Twitter page for this video. Every now and then we put up a list of decks that we are looking at doing into the future, and let you have a bit of a vote to see which ones you want to see. This channel is for you after all, and I'm just the one who gets to play the fun decks in the meantime. So if you want to check that out, you can at the @SableEyes_YT on Twitter and Facebook. There will be links to all sorts of stuff from there. If you do like the channel and you want to see more videos, then click the subscribe button up on this side. Over here we have some videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, and down the bottom we have a playlist for more decks from our Rebel Clash playlist. That's it. We're done. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming along, and we'll see you all next time for more from the Sable Eyes. Bye.